if we close off part of the road, that doesn't prevent residents or, local people from accessing the boat ramp. That I was really curious about that.
So the boat ramp's a complicated thing, and we're looking at a lot of different options with regards to that boat ramp specifically, and that would be incorporated into a greater plan. But in terms of business wise, you would still have access, even with the reroute. You would have access to the professional building located at 2301 Park Marina. There's still access right there at South and Park Marina to be able to get into that complex. And also down on Washington, there is access to be able to get into the current Lakeside building. Also, there would most likely be, with future development, 1 or 2, maybe 3 driveways that would either come directly right off of South and Park Marina, potentially off of somewhere off Washington, off South. There may be multiple locations still of access to the river. So no, the idea would not be to close off any access to the river with this current setup.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Kevin.
Carson has his hand up.
Oh, I see it. I'm sorry, I was a little blending into the background. Carson,
No worries.
your turn. Yes, please share what you're thinking.
Do you guys have any plan to prevent traffic from proceeding into the garden track at Washington and South? Is the first question. The second, are you looking at something besides knockdown posts in the buffers on the bike lane?
I can talk about that a little bit. So right now for the alternatives for South and Washington, the roundabout was preferred. We threw a signal in there just as an alternative in case the roundabout right-of-way takes were too great as far as the homes and then the developable property. I'm going to throw this out there right now and see how you guys feel about it. And I brought it up to a few others. We were also toying with the idea of a half closure on South Street to where it would curtail the through traffic. So you could still have neighborhood circulation, but if you were on Park Marina going north-south, you would not be able to use South Street as a cut through. It's always kind of controversial when you talk about closing roads, but we're talking about rerouting a major thoroughfare right now. So I figured, why not? Let's throw it in there. I'm curious.
Are you talking a one-way between Paris and Washington on South?
It would be, so let me see if I can draw
traffic,
it.
So traffic can't
Cliff, if you want to go to that overall map.
It would be like a you could make left, or I'm sorry, not left turns. It would be, no, yeah, it would be like a left turns. Can I draw on this, Cliff, or no?
Yes, you should be able to.
You should be able to. I'm sorry, which slide would be best again? I'm sorry.
Keep going down to that traffic calming slide, Cliff.
Oh,
that has like the overview. There you go. This might be, and if you go to the area of
South.
Yeah, Park and South. Yeah,
No,
more to.
We're talking about South and Washington, right?
Yeah, so right where your cursor is. Yeah,
Yep,
more
right
over there.
So it would be a diagonal closure. So if you were traveling east on South, you would have to turn north on Washington. If you were traveling south on Park Marina, made a right on Washington, you would then have to turn left and continue down Washington. So essentially it would leave it open to through traffic for Park Marina, but you would not be able to cut through into the neighborhood.
Okay.
That's something, so yeah, I'm curious to see what people's thoughts are on that. And then to answer your second question, we usually start off with the delineators and the buffer, but that is something that we'll definitely look at more as far as like what exactly does that separation look like? Because like we were saying, it is going to be a grant application. So, it's basically
get the money now and get it done. Yeah.
They want to see bigger and better all the time, so
Yep.
that's definitely something we can look at.
Janice?
There. We were just talking about potentially closing a portion of South Street for Park Marina Drive traffic. After having worked down on the Park Marina Drive area for 16 plus years, the South Street corridor is a pretty popular route to get from Park Marina Drive from downtown, back and forth to downtown. And if we were to close a portion of that off, that's going to have a pretty significant impact for the mobility from those two areas.
So, and that's why it's not even an alternative on our plans right now. Honestly, it's just been an idea that I've been toying with in the last couple of weeks. And that's where I was looking for that feedback of, yes, it is a cut through, but do we want to keep that cut through, or do we want to consider that as a possibility to change the feeling of the whole area? And then that would also tie in with a lot of the traffic calming measures that we're looking at South Street further up in the Garden Tract area, and then at Olympus Drive and continuing up Athens. So we're kind of looking at it, we're trying to look at it from that broader, the whole neighborhood, as opposed to just Park Marina Drive by itself. So yeah, definitely open to all of that feedback.
Shelby, if Park Marina were diverted to Washington, is that the same? Does Washington Street have the same width as Park Marina for the different modes of travel? Or would you need to take some land from the park in order to make that happen, to make it wide enough to accommodate everybody, to prevent having major bottlenecks happening with that stoplight location?
Yeah, we would need to take some right of way along the frontage in order to make everything work in there.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Cameron?
Yeah, and I just wanted to reiterate, Janice, on what Shelby said. We would certainly anticipate that. Number one, that there would be some dedication of right of way to make Washington wider. Also potentially to maybe, and again, this is hypothetical, but to cut a little bit more into the park area currently, so to curve it if need be. So if this was a more dedicated route, again, we want to be cooperative and help in any way we can to not inject new traffic into that neighborhood. We want to try and keep it out of there as well as much as possible and look at a lot of those options. And so if we may need to cut that corner, if you will, a little bit more at South and Washington to accomplish that, that's what we'd be looking at. And then of course, too, and there's a lot more that we would go over. But in terms of the biking and pedestrian facilities, if we had that extra room and did the reroute, and then we lost that portion of Park Marina, we would be far more amenable to being able to look at also some bicycle or pedestrian modes of travel or trails along the river.
Thanks, Cameron.
Good. Anyone else have any overall questions or concerns? Seems like there's been a lot of discussion and interest about the option B to reroute along Washington. Not necessarily support, but just questions. Yeah.
Carson has his hand raised.
Oh, Carson. I'm sorry again. Yes. Go ahead.
Where the roundabout was removed, I believe at Athens at Park Marina, what's the traffic control device that's going to be used there? Are you thinking like RFBs?
One more slide up. So Athens.
One more up.
There you
Yeah,
go.
there we go.
That's the one. Yep.
Okay.
RFBs, a hawk.
Yeah, something along those lines. We probably wouldn't do a hawk just from a traffic perspective. You really should have massive amounts of bike and ped traffic to put one of those in, but it would definitely be enhanced. So I'm thinking like a RFB or, you know, something, I don't even, maybe even a raised crosswalk. That might be I don't know.
Yeah, that's what, that was my next question, is like an RFP with a raised crosswalk, just so people get that memory of,
Yeah.
I need to pay attention here or my car is gonna hit something.
Yeah, possibly.
And the second question for that just left my head and it may come back. Sorry.
No problem. Okay, move next to Melody.
Yes, hi, this is Terry, Melody's husband.
Okay.
I just wanted to get some clarification in your earlier explanation about the possibility of perhaps adjusting how South Street comes into Park Marina there, maybe making that a one-way. Are you anticipating that in that alternative, there would be higher traffic street? In other words, would that cause a diversion of traffic into Washington north of South Street?
So yeah, that is a concern as far as whatever we do on Park Marina, how is it going to affect the surrounding neighborhoods? And we are looking at more traffic calming in that area because we want to discourage that. So that is definitely a concern that we're thinking about. And I'm in the process right now, just with that on the table, of even having it be a possibility of closing South Street. I'm having some staff go get more traffic counts for some of those different legs and intersections in the neighborhood, just to take an even closer look at really what's going on in there right now. So we can make some, whatever decision we make, I want to make sure it's very informed and we fully comprehend how it's going to affect the neighborhood as a whole, not just Park Marina. So we would look at that on a much closer, more detailed level, and then, provide mitigation for the neighborhood depending on our results.
Sure, okay. Yeah, we would like to provide input on that at some point. So we'll look forward to the right opportunity for that.
So, if you have suggestions now, that's awesome. Or you can shoot me an email, and I have a collection of emails I've received on this project that we take and we're keeping for discussion purposes.
Yeah, I think an email would be fine. I can do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Move on to Janice again. Hi.
There. Can we go back to the slide where the roundabout is at Olympus and Village Drive? So I'm a property manager for the apartment complex that is just east of Village Drive there. There's about, between the apartments and the privately owned homes, there's about 60 single family living units in there. And so there's quite a bit of traffic that comes in and out of there. What I'm not is a cyclist. And when you mentioned earlier that cyclists would have to use the crosswalk, they're going to be riding along, and then they're going to have to make like a horseshoe shape in order to keep going straight. Do you really see that happening? As a driver, I'd be going, there's no way they're going to, and any of the cyclists that are more confident, a little family I can see doing that with the crosswalk, but any of this confident cyclist, I can see just cutting right through there, and the car's going, holy cow, what are they doing? And the cyclists going, holy cow, what are they doing? Is that a proven concept elsewhere without people getting crashed into?
That's not an issue that I've heard of, as far as, so if you can kind of picture it, the two-way cycle track is on the east side. You would have to, like, we would design it in such a way that guides you onto the sidewalk and to use that crossing. So you would have to hop out of there, cross the buffer, and then you would be riding the wrong way in the lane without a shoulder. So it would be extremely uncomfortable. I have a hard time seeing anyone doing that, but actually if Carson wants to add anything, I know he is an avid cyclist and he might have some more insight on that as well.
I guess the only, she has a point as to it is the approach angle for the bikes isn't ideal. So if I'm coming from the south and I'm looking down Village right before I need to turn left to cross. Yes, exactly, right there. I have to look over my shoulder to make sure there's not a car that's gonna not actually right hook me, but you know what I'm referring to. And broadside me as I cross there. If the approach was a little more perpendicular earlier, the cyclist would have a better view of the cars. So I'm talking about starting that turn that turn to the north earlier. I'm sorry. I wish I could move my mouse on your screen.
I guess that'd be to the east, going towards the apartments.
Yes, but just starting it earlier, so I am perpendicular to Village Drive.
Right.
Earlier.
So
Yeah.
instead of curving in and following the roundabout, if it was coming north and more of a smooth angle to that crosswalk or on Village.
Sure. A smoother approach would be preferred. That
Right.
allows us to see the cars. As for the cars seeing us, are you guys going to have cars yielding to us or us yielding to the cars?
Yeah, so right now we're just showing just a simple crosswalk right there at Village. But if that's going to be like your main crosswalk there where both bikes and peds are crossing, we'd probably make it wider, and turn radiuses approaching it would be done in such a manner that bicyclists can navigate it safely, and your line of sights are done in an appropriate manner that both the bicyclist is aware of the car that's coming onto them and the car is aware that a bicyclist is going to be crossing in front of them at some point.
Yeah, the MassDOT guide has some really good stuff for that right now.
Right. Yeah. So
And-
these, you have to keep in mind, we're doing this as a conceptual level just to get a consensus building on if a roundabout here is even an entertained idea, right?
Got it.
Once,
I-
if it's even
I
liked
like-
by the community, then we move forward with a detailed,
Okay.
much detailed look at it.
Yeah, and if Janice has enough people coming in and out of that, there could be an RFP there too that just auto detects. Anyways, those are my thoughts.
Thanks.
What is the acronym you just used? RFD?
Rapid flashing beacon.
Okay.
Those are the
So-
ones we have them on East Cypress at the crossings. It's the blinky lights.
Yellow flashy lights with the yellow sign.
Okay.
Carson, I think you had your hand up while Janice was asking a question. Do you have something else to add?
No, that I just wanted to address that because
Oh, okay.
how it's roughed out now is kind of rough, but it's just preliminary. I get it.
Yeah. Okay.
I guess the other question I did have earlier was why was the Athens roundabout removed?
That one, so we had it in there. We ended up taking out because there wasn't a whole lot of public support for it necessarily. There were some concerns about maybe the roundabout isn't the best way to get the cyclist traffic from one side of the street to the other in this situation. And that maybe something like this would be a little bit more straightforward and put the focus more on the bicyclists versus the vehicles. And then additionally, the traffic does back up during the peak hour. You know, in the evening you do have at 5 o'clock, it does back up. And it will get back here to Athens. So people had concerns about that. You know, I'm a traffic person from my perspective. You know, you have those times of the day where it happens, and that's just part of the nature of vehicular traffic. But that's why we took out the roundabout and then we kept the 2 northbound lanes as well. We made sure we did that, but that's why that turned out the way it did.
Okay.
Do you have thoughts on this intersection specifically and those?
I was 50-50 on roundabout or something like this. I personally like roundabout, but going down to the 1 lane is concerning. So this is pretty decent. Oops, sorry. I thought I should put my hand down.
Fine. Thank you. For those who haven't had a chance to speak, just called some random names: Cheryl, Anna, Chrissy, David, is there anything that you guys would like to say about these proposed improvements for Park Marina or general concerns? Tyler, Aaron? Another topic of discussion is the pedestrian overcrossing at Highway 44.
Looks like Cameron's got his hand up.
Oh, Cameron. Go ahead, Cameron.
Yeah, sorry, just again, looking at this and got another map up here with regards to South Street and you being experienced, traffic engineers and planners here. Because again, I think it's a big deal to make sure that we keep that traffic out of that neighborhood. We want all of this to be an asset to that neighborhood, not a liability. And I'm wondering, and South Street is such a primary corridor. I mean, it's not even really a cut through. Otherwise, you're coming in off Cypress or up at Butte, or you're going to reroute everybody down Locust, which I don't think is necessarily better. You're going to have some of that anyway. But if we get what our overall hope is, there is a large draw not only for the city but for the region, and so there will be increased traffic of all modes. And if we, cut out South Street as an entire approach, you're going to reroute everything onto Butte, Cypress, or Locust. And then we're going to start trying to figure out how those areas can handle it as well. I'm wondering, in your experience, things like just direct barricades, maybe not even necessarily a diagonal at Washington and South, but a full barricade at Washington going north on Washington. Maybe even one at Paris and or London. And then I have you seen good results? I know it's only advisory, but a local access only. I've seen that before. Various things, or even making the cut in so you can come out but not in. Various things. I mean, what other things transportation strategies do you see for people that are only accessing the neighborhood, but not going through and trying to cut down, especially Athens, but London, Paris, and Washington in particular, to try and cut in line, especially in those evening hours, to get down in front. And the one who's really got the best, I think, grasp on this and has the most experience with it is Janice. And I know Janice has talked about that before, seeing how far that backup is at 5 p.m. and how far down it can go down Park Marina, and that it can wrap all the way down and around. I mean, if somebody is coming from that direction, they go down Athens to cut 5-6 cars in front, they'll do it. And I know we got some traffic calming measures, but what else can we do to really keep that local traffic only? Just curious your thoughts.
Rudy, do you have anything you'd like to share from maybe some previous projects?
Yeah, Rudy or Cliff, anybody?
It's a very tough question to answer per se, just because how the nature of traffic behaves when you have cut throughs of this nature. It's almost like a pipeline with water in it. If you plug one area, then the water is going to find its way to another source, right? So you definitely want to encourage traffic calming measures to deter folks from using it. The main thing is travel time. If you can figure out a way to add traffic calming measures that do not provide a benefit, so even if you did use the cut through, you'll get to where you're getting, and you probably won't even get ahead of those 5 cars after the fact. A lot of neighborhoods that around here in Fremont, we have cut through from freeways. They purposely time in this case, it won't apply as much because there's no signal lights in those neighborhoods, but they purposely time the signal lights to not work efficiently. So if you're using the cut through, you're still going to get stuck. It's compared to just staying on the freeway, So there are opportunities we can look at, but that would require a further detailed analysis of the whole area based on what kind of options we're considering and where we want to add closures and rerouting, because that gets into trip generation or trip travel and how people would reroute, and analysis would be required for that.
It looks like David has his hand raised too.
David, are you there?
Yes, hi. David Schlegel, I'm a resident of City of Reading, and I find it hard to comment on planning for all modes of transportation without an idea of the development on the waterfront. I guess Cameron might have a better idea, but was it ever thought of looking at going north and south around 44, of just kind of tunneling through and staying at grade? And is there a plan for like a waterfront type path right of way dedicated to pedestrians and bikes? What's the idea for development? I mean, it seems like a lot of people want waterfront activity, and there could be an easy path where that bike path arches over 44. You know, maybe there's an opportunity just to kind of keep it at grade or go tunnel under 44.
So that's a two-part question. I'll take the first part, and then maybe Cameron, you can do the second. So we actually did speak with Caltrans about that. That was our first option, was to go under 44. And we did look at that and talk to Caltrans, but the bridge was not built with that intention. And there's some serious engineering constraints. So basically it was a no. They said that we would not be able to do that. So that's why we moved on to the overcrossing alternative.
Too transformative.
Too much. And then Cameron, maybe you can talk about the waterfront a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been looking at a lot of different options here. The Koutros family just got the property back at the first of the year. A lot of the initial tenants and proposals that we had, because what we're really looking for are active uses down on the water. We know restaurants, hotels, recreation is a big one. A lot of that, the interest that we had was put on hold due to COVID. The other one was with regards to this. And again, Shelby could speak a little bit more towards the immediacy of starting this portion of the planning process, because they have their own timeline, and especially with regards to grant applications and other factors. And for us, it really makes a difference as to what happens with this corridor that's going to impact what we can and can't do. There are certain areas, especially along that area from south to Washington, where there is such a squeeze between the road and the river. There's virtually nothing we can do unless you have that reroute. And if we have that reroute, we have actually a very large, wide strip that goes all the way from south, all the way a little bit before Locust, down to the southern end of that little inlet there, where we would have a large, singular, wide developable area. And that would change dramatically if Park Marina stays where it's currently at. The other issue becomes setbacks and dedication of right-of-way. So take, for example, the piece there, and it's narrow, it's smaller than you think, but between the Aqua Golf and Village Drive is just one example. Even 3 feet, let alone 4, 6, 10 feet towards the more right-of-way towards the river that's dedicated, with parking requirements, landscaping requirements, setbacks, other issues. And we, of course, have to deal with Army Corps of Engineers, Fish and Wildlife, and a lot of agencies when we're doing certain riverfront development, can make or break a particular project. So, you know, we really, and Shelby can tell you, we wanted to work with the city on this. We are at least having discussions and participating in these public discussions to go over what some of those options are. And our big part is, you know, we've been listening and trying to listen to the public in terms of what they want. But the, you know, the landowner and the Koutros family does want to see good active uses and a good classy development along the river. And also, again, the potential for, we want the pedestrian and bicycle facilities along the river. We'd like to do that. The more we're squeezed in, the tougher it becomes for us to do that closer to the river. The more room we have, the more we can adjust to that. So, you know, that's where we're coming from. This place has been studied and planned and concepted so many times for so many years, over so many decades. Trust me, the plans are all there. They're there. It's actually finding out it's getting those specific uses, getting the specific tenants, and putting the plans on paper, the site development plans, to be able to make this work. And we want it to be something that the public can enjoy, and that is not only a local but a regional draw.
Thanks, Cameron. Looks like David has his hand raised.
And I don't know if is there a different David?
Nope.
No, it's the same David.
Okay, I could say a couple more things just overall. I would recommend to everybody involved with developing the waterfront, whether it be transportation purposes or otherwise, to cater to pedestrians and bicyclists, and maybe, deprioritize cars where necessary, and where, you have to prioritize safety of other modes of access. I do support option B on the southern segment, where, you might have more park space dedicated to accessing the riverfront. If it's a little bit more uncomfortable for cars to meander through there, that's fine. This is essentially, hopefully, going to be a riverfront that people want to go to experience a riverfront activity and not just park their car. So it's the idea. I would have you kind of understand concepts of great places that thrive. They cater to people, not cars, and you can create ways that cars can get there, but it shouldn't necessarily be so comfortable for cars and unsafe for other people. And through the pandemic, we had a lot of neighborhood streets closed and people would bike around, and it seems like everybody's enjoyed that, and it worked really well. But for some reason, when we plan these transportation corridors, that seems like a pie in the sky type thing, when maybe we should be thinking like maybe the neighborhood would love to have that happen, and maybe that should be the norm in our cities. So just kind of recommend overall themes, just kind of think about future livable cities and how they actually look like, and if you go to other places, they are actually doing it.
Thanks, David.
David.
Actually, it looks like Janice typed a question, and I'm excited about this one because I'm better at traffic than all of the I enjoy active transportation very much, but I am a traffic person. So she was asking if the speed limit would change, and if the slowing down of the traffic would benefit the commercial development, as well as kind of deter people from using it as a cut through, because they wouldn't be able to make that trip as quickly. So when we set speed limits, right now we're required by law to set the speed limit based on the prevailing speed of traffic. So we have to do a study, and then basically we call it the 85th percentile. It's like that percentage of vehicles traveling at a certain speed. We have to set it that as a speed limit, which can be super frustrating because when people are speeding through a roadway, we still have to set the speed based on that average flow. So if we redo this roadway, it's 4 lanes right now, 2 lanes in each direction. And I use Park Marina all the time, and everyone passes each other, like they treat it like a highway. So by making it that, 3-lane roadway section, you're going to stop the passing. It is going to slow traffic down. And then the next time we do go through and we update those speed limits, it's most likely going to drop, I'd say probably by quite a bit, hopefully. So by nature of the project, the speed limit should change.
Thank you.
Okay. There's also, I think there was another comment that was made in our group by Chrissy. I'm reading in the chat. Maybe I should just read it. I don't know if there are questions that we can answer now, but I'll just read it. By Chrissy, I support the overall concepts to explore complete streets opportunities for Park Marina corridor. I think if we build it, they will come. Pedestrians and bikers will feel safer, and this would serve as a critical connection. Designing beyond the private vehicle will promote equity and mobility for communities with disadvantage. There are many examples of other communities that have developed pedestrian and bicycle-oriented facilities, which improve the overall aesthetic of the area and just helps promote economic development. So it's thought that there should be a focus on development along the riverfront where possible. There are studies that show that roundabouts actually help to improve the overall flow of traffic. Can you cite some of those in the study? Also, does the study intend to address citizen concerns about increased congestion due to reduction in lanes? Thank you. Chrissy Moore, Complete Streets Corridor, Caltrans, District 2. I think we also just got a notification that breakout rooms will be closing in several minutes.
So on that one, I think one of the main questions there is addressing citizen concerns about increased congestion due to the reduction in lanes. So yeah, we've talked about that, I feel like quite a bit. We did do those traffic studies and those would be available to the public if anyone wants to take a look at them. They're a little bit tedious, but we look at, you know, the level of service of the roadway and the intersections and the current conditions in the future, and it gets very technical. But we did look at that. One thing that is good about the road diets as well, when you provide that center turn lane, you're providing a safe place for people to leave the traveled way in order to make their turns. So with Park Marina Drive right now, even though it's 2 lanes in each direction, you might have it where someone's trying to turn left and all of a sudden you have to slam on your brakes. So even though we're reducing the lanes, the flow should actually be maintained fairly well because you're removing those conflicts. And then I'll just say on that point too, it is better for safety because having that center turn lane reduces left turn crashes and rear ends as well. So there is a benefit there.
Thanks, Sheldon. Okay, is there any last minute questions, comments before we return to the main room? Just want to thank everyone for joining and sharing your concerns and about the concepts and the questions.
Again, everyone, you can, if you think of something later, you could just shoot me an email.
Hey, everyone, does everyone need Shelby's email? Yeah,
Yes, please. Yes, please.
I can put it in the chat real quick. And
so smaiden@cityofreading.org.
That's great. Thank you.
Susan, are you raising your hand or
Yes, please. I just was going to
yes.
say, can you hear me?
we can hear
Yes.
I was going to say on the South Street closure proposal to be sure and ask the residents that are right in that vicinity of their opinion of that, because my guess is they're the ones that use that even more than anyone else for ingress and egress.
you. Yeah, we would. Yeah, we definitely need to coordinate with them further, and then the residents in the area. I was very happy. There's a couple folks that came to the Monday meeting that live right there in that area. So I think we've spoken to most of the people that live there, but if we did move along with any of those options with South Street and Washington, we definitely have to have more coordination there.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh. All right. Oh, 30 seconds. Carson, hi. Yes.
I'd just say that when you are talking about the diversion or cut through or whatever we're calling it, make it more apparent that it's due to possible development and not just, I know the last set of slides from the previous round made it seem like the road was still going to stay there. So a lot of people were just really questioning the logic of it. So it seems like it's very much more development driven than anything.
Yeah, and so the first time around too, I think we had it open for a bus lane on Park Marina still as well, and we ended up changing that. That was a short-lived option.
Yeah, that's correct.
Well, thank you everyone for all of your input, and we appreciate you taking your time out of your day to talk to us about this. It's really important for us and then the community as well, and it means a lot to have you take your time.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thanks, Aaron. And you're welcome to leave the breakout room now, or you can wait till the 20 seconds.
Yeah, I'll hop out.
Of comments. Cliff and Rudy, do you want to give any like high level, recap of comments that people made in your room?
Yeah, I can start. And Rudy and Shelby, if you want to jump in.
Just a couple, you don't have to go through every comment, but
Sure.
what's the flavor?
Actually, it was most of our discussion hovered around or focused on the option B, where looking at the diversion onto Washington Avenue, and basically a lot of discussion around potential traffic impacts on the neighborhood, how that would affect travel routes along South Street, and if there's additional like traffic calming or other measures that will be needed in order to ensure that drivers going onto Washington, like how to manage possible spillover traffic from Washington into the neighborhood. So, so there's a lot of good discussion there, and trying to, just basically make sure that the residents and those in the area would be consulted if that option is being considered. So, and then there was also general comments, discussion about like certain treatments for improving bicycle facilities around the traffic circles at Olympus and Village. So, and then also some other traffic treatments at the other intersections. I think there were some other.
That was good. Maybe Rudy, do you
Yeah.
have anything else you would add?
Yeah, they were wondering about how we're gonna do the bike lane crossing at Village, because there is that apartment community. So we want to make sure the bikes can safely and the peds can safely cross through that area. Also about the protected bike intersection at Athens, how we would transition the bikes from the west side of the street to the east side. Would we consider an elevated crossing with some RFBs, or how would we design that? So some good questions there. There was some concern about the boat ramp with the diversion, because there's that boat ramp on Park Marina between South and Washington. So folks were wondering if there'd be any negative impacts to accessibility if we consider the diversion from South to Washington to Park Marina. Yeah, so those are some of the high level items.
Thank you for that. In a way, it sounds like I was in your meeting because, yeah, Ruda, right? I mean, everything, almost everything you said, except with a couple exceptions, were really highlights of our meeting as well.
We could basically echo what you both said.
Yeah, in alarming consistency too. We did have maybe a couple other comments. There was a comment about how the overpass would work and the best way to lead it from Park Marina and over the 44. So there was some conversation about that. One interesting, we did have a business owner in our group that was interesting. That's Headwaters Adventure and is a river kind of oriented business. So that was good to get that perspective. But really, it was a neighborhood perspective that we had in our group, and concern about cut through traffic a lot, and also concern about impacts of routing Park Marina onto Washington and South.
Yeah.
Ruta, did you want to add anything to that list?
No, I think you pretty much covered it all. I think there was just one comment that was regarding cut through traffic.
Whatever happens here on Park Marina. I would just also mention that we did have a planner from the Kucher's project team in our breakout room. That's Einhard Diaz of Diaz Planning, and he says that they are listening to the community, and they're doing work that they will bring to the city. So there will be so Shelby will be notifying the community. Shelby, I'm putting you on the spot, but that at some point when that is ready to go public, then it will be made public. I should also mention that somebody asked about notification and said that even though they live close to Park Marina, they were not notified in the original round of meetings, and so only recently heard about this meeting. So Shelby, I don't know if you can recall what the notification was for the first round and also for this round. Could you just let us know?
Yeah, we had, so the first time around, we sent out a flyer, and it should have been sent to the homes within that that red study area. So if you weren't within that red study area, you might not have received a flyer in the first go around. But we did put it on Facebook and then also our website. We did try to do a better job this time around with the virtual outreach. So we did post it on our Facebook page. We have it on our website. I think our mailing list this time around was a little bit fuller, just because we had gotten the word out. I see Katie Nell is in the red study area. I'm sorry about that. I'm not sure what happened there. I don't know, maybe you can email me, and then maybe with your address, and I can make sure in the future any mailings I want you to be included.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
awesome.
we're continuing to build the mailing list. So if you email Shelby at snadin at city of, wait a minute, tell me the address, Shelby, you better do it.
I'm putting it in the chat right now.
Okay, that's the best way. cityofreading.org. Thank you. So thank you all for all your comments and questions. And it was a lively discussion. And so I learned a lot. I hope you guys all learned a lot too. Next steps are going to be to review this material, work with staff. We will be talking to stakeholders, which means property owners and others in the area. And there will be more work done on the draft corridor plan, and then it will be released later in the fall. So that's our next steps. And I'll open it up for Shelby, if you have any last words for this meeting.
I'd just like to say, I guess, thank you, first of all, just because, we were going through a phase of inactivity with the COVID-19 situation, and we've been trying to get the ball rolling on this again. And it's been a while since our first outreach. So, we appreciate everyone's patience, and it means a lot to me personally that you all have kind of carved out time to attend this meeting and give your thoughts and input, because it's super helpful for us when we're going through the design process for this project. And I would just add that if anyone, wants to talk to me more about it or wants to share any input or ideas or concerns, just shoot me an email and let me know.
Okay. Thank you all. So I think on behalf of the entire team, very much thanks to all of you for attending and giving your time this evening.
Real quick, sorry,
Sure.
I saw a question from Janessa. She was asking what are the next steps, another meeting. So right now, as what the city's process is going to be, we're going to have some more internal staff meetings. We'll have more meetings with the stakeholders. And then depending on how those go, we may need to do another meeting. It depends on, I guess, the alternatives. And then we'll have to talk to the consultant from there a bit. We may determine that we do need to do some more outreach. But if we do, we will keep everyone posted.
Thank you for that, Shelby. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you all for your attendance and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thanks, everyone.
you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you, everyone.